thank you very much for tuning in to Maple Leafs Man Advantage. And I am Hawkeye, and I'm going to bring in this short little video talk about a big trade that the Leafs did in trading away one of their legendary players. Um, from what I've seen in watching old hockey, when starting to do that blog, I started watching old hockey, um, going through the seasons and seeing some of the old games coming through time and everything like that. Tim Horton, that's the guy that they traded. He was one of the best defensemen the Leafs have ever had. He was a number one defenseman for sure. Um, the other player I would mention would be Corey Solomon. He was a fabulous defenseman as well. And beyond that, um, after after that, it's just like I don't know if there was another defenseman of that ilk, of that ability. Tim Horton was a legendary defenseman, and he's going to be on my Leafs Legends list when I get to that video. He will certainly be on there. So it was on March the 3rd, 1970. The Leafs um, were involved, and this time it was like a deadline deal before the trading deadline passed. And this time it was with the New York Rangers. So, yes, the Rangers got Tim Horton, and the Rangers ended up giving them future considerations. Well, that turned out to be Denis Dupéré. Um, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. Uh, Now, this is way before my time, so I'm not sure if I wasn't even sure of who this player is. Never heard of him. Um, but it'll be interesting to see him in the Leaf lineup, and he will certainly be playing some time in Toronto for sure. So we'll look first at Tim Horton here, and he had, as I've already said, one heck of a career in Toronto. He had four Stanley Cups. He had played 20 seasons in Toronto, which is incredible, in the blue and white. He was named to seven All Star teams and finished runner up to the Norris Trophy on two different occasions, 1963-64 and 1968-69. He played 1,184 games for the Leafs during that time, scoring 109 goals, 349 assists for 458 points. Now, for games played, he is up there all time. Another player would be George Armstrong. He would be way up there in games. I didn't look this up, but I'm certain those two guys are way up there on the list all time for the Leafs. And as well, Horton also grabbed 1,389 pound minutes as well during his 20 seasons in Toronto. Now, after the trade, Tim would go on to play another 261 games with six assists, 54 or six goals, I'm sorry, 54 assists for 60 points. Now, his numbers would have been larger, or he would certainly would have played more games, as he was 44 years old of age, still playing in the NHL, but he did die in on what happened is he was driving on the QEW or the Queen Elizabeth Way, and he lost control of his car. He was driving to Buffalo, I believe, from Toronto. He was playing that night um, in Toronto and was driving home, and he lost control of his car and he died, unfortunately. He was playing for the Buffalo Sabres at the time, and he also played for the Pittsburgh Penguins as well after leaving Toronto. Now, on the flip side, as I said, I never have heard of this Dennis. Um, I think he was a right winger. No, left winger. I apologize. Um, but he did end up playing four seasons in Toronto, starting not this year, but the next season. He would get into some games. I think he played 20 games the following season. But he would go on to play 421 games in the NHL, scoring 80 goals with 99 assists for 179 points. He actually scored 23 goals in 1974-75 when he split time between the Washington Capitals, who were, I believe that was their very first year in the NHL, and the St. Louis Blues. Now, that Washington Capitals team was awful. They were brutal, but he still scored 20 goals in Washington before they traded him to St. Louis. But he did become a 20 goal scorer. And that season, excuse me, for the 1975 All-Star game, he was there for the Washington Capitals as an All-Star. So um, he didn't win much that year playing on a team, but it would have been certainly, I hope, a season for him to remember with such things as that going on. And an interesting note, and in the 421 games he played in the NHL, he only got 66 penalty minutes during that entire time. So he was a clean player. He wasn't a dirty guy. Kind of like Dave Keon. He didn't get very many penalty minutes. Or Butch Goring, another great example. He didn't get very many penalty minutes either. So there you have it. He didn't spend much time in the penalty box. And he also played for the Kansas City Scouts and the Colorado Rockies as well. So there you have it. So yeah, it's very, very tough to see an extreme talent like Horton get traded out of Toronto. Um, he's long in the tooth. We all get it. But in return, we're going to get a young player. He was 21 at the time. And he's going to be a 20 goal scorer as well, which is important. So that's great. And I'm going to give this one the green light and say goodbye to Tim. And there you have it. Enjoy your time in New York. You're going to be going to the playoffs, and there you have it. So just a quick update on the team because Horton is now gone. So there you go. It's just on defense. I've moved Glennie up from the extras. He did score a goal, but and then I think Mike Pellick should get some good playing time in Toronto as well. But but yeah, man, oh man, is that ever a young decor? Very young. Um, but you know, this team's not going in. They're not making the playoffs this year, but it's time to build, time to see what you can do through the draft and see what we can do to make this team into something great again. So there you have it. So yeah, if you like, go ahead, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. I got more videos on here about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you want to comment on anything, go ahead and do so as well. I love to talk hockey. So until next time, go Leafs, go.